Have you ever wondered how your hand pulls away instantly when you touch something hot? Or why your heart starts racing the moment you feel stressed? All of this is controlled by one powerful system, the nervous system. The nervous system is the body rapid communication and control system. It allows us to sense, think, move, and maintain internal balance, a state known as homeostasis. Unlike the endocrine system, which acts slowly through hormones released into the bloodstream, the nervous system works extremely fast, using electrical impulses and chemical messengers to produce immediate responses. Physiologically, the nervous system is divided into two major parts, the central nervous system, or CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, or PNS. The central nervous system mainly includes the brain and spinal cord. This is the body's control center, where information is processed, decisions are made, and responses are coordinated. The PNS consists of all nerves outside the CNS. Its role is to carry information to and from the CNS, connecting the brain and spinal cord to the rest of the body. Functionally, nerve signals travel in two directions: sensory or afferent pathways that carry information from receptors in the body PNS to the CNS, motor or efferent pathways that carry commands from the CNS to muscle and glands of the PNS. As we mentioned, the nervous system is first divided to CNS and PNS. The PNS is further divided into the autonomic nervous system, the involuntary control of organs, and the somatic nervous system, the voluntary control of skeletal muscles. The autonomic system is further divided into the sympathetic nervous system in fight or flight situation, and the parasympathetic nervous system in case of rest and digest. The balance between sympathetic and parasympathetic activity keeps the body stable in changing conditions. The basic functional unit of the nervous system is the neuron. Each neuron has dendrites that receive signals, a cell body that integrates information, and an axon that conducts signals away from the cell. Many axons are covered by myelin, which acts as an insulation and increase the speed of signal conduction. Damage to myelin slows nerve impulse, which is seen in diseases like multiple sclerosis. Electrical signaling means action potential. Neurons communicate using action potentials. At rest, neurons maintain a resting membrane potential, mainly due to sodium and potassium ion distribution, with higher sodium ion concentration extracellularly outside the cell and higher potassium concentration intracellularly inside the cell. Now let's look at how membrane potential changes over time. A neuron starts at the resting membrane potential, which is about minus 70 millivolts. At this stage, sodium ions are more concentrated outside the cell, while potassium ions are more concentrated inside. When a stimulus reaches the threshold, an action potential is triggered. Voltage-gated sodium channels open, allowing sodium to rapidly diffuse into the neuron. This influx of positive ions causes depolarization, making the membrane potential more positive. Shortly after, voltage-gated potassium channels open. Potassium ions move out of the cell, which brings the membrane potential back down in a process called repolarization. To fully restore the original resting membrane potential, the neuron relies on the sodium-potassium ATPase pump. This active transport pump uses ATP to move three sodium ions out of the cell and two potassium ions into the cell, re-establishing the original ion gradient and returning the neuron to its resting state. This process follows the all or none principle. Either a full action potential occurs or none at all. The action potential travels along the axon without losing strength, allowing fast and reliable communication. Chemical signaling means synapses. When an action potential reaches the end of a neuron, communication changes from electrical to chemical. The junction that connects two neurons is called a synapse. Between the two neurons lies a tiny gap known as the synaptic cleft. The neuron before the synaptic cleft is called the presynaptic neuron. When the action potential arrives here, it triggers the release of neurotransmitters. These chemical messengers diffuse across the synaptic cleft and bind to receptors on the postsynaptic neuron, which is the neuron after the synaptic cleft. This binding allows the signal to be transmitted to the next neuron, continuing communication within the nervous system. So, at the synapse, neurotransmitters are released from the presynaptic neuron. They cross the synaptic cleft and then bind to receptors on the postsynaptic neuron. Common neurotransmitters include dopamine, acetylcholine, and GABA. Many drugs act by enhancing or blocking neurotransmitters, which is why synapses are so important in pharmacology and medicine. Somatic versus autonomic control. The somatic nervous system uses a single neuron pathway, originating in the CNS and traveling through the PNS to reach the effector organ, while the autonomic nervous system uses a two neuron chain in both its sympathetic and parasympathetic divisions. Functionally, the somatic nervous system controls voluntary movement primarily by innervating skeletal muscles. The autonomic nervous system, on the other hand, regulates involuntary functions such as heart rate, digestion, blood pressure, and pupil diameter. In summary, the nervous system works through specialized cells called neurons, electrical signals known as action potentials, chemical communication as synapses. Every thought, sensation, and movement depend on precise nervous system physiology. When this system is disrupted, neurological diseases appears. Keep in mind, the nervous system is organized into two main divisions, the central nervous system, CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, PNS. The CNS, made up of the brain and spinal cord, serves as the control center. The PNS connects the CNS to the rest of the body and is divided into the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. The somatic nervous system controls voluntary movement by innervating skeletal muscles, while the autonomic nervous system regulates involuntary functions essential for survival. The autonomic system is further divided into the sympathetic division, responsible for the fight or flight response, and the parasympathetic division, which promotes rest and digestion. Before we finish, let's lock this in with a quick quiz. Question number 1. Which of the following events is primarily responsible for the rapid depolarization phase of a neuronal action potential? A, B, C, or D? Question number 2. Which part of the neuron is primarily responsible for conducting action potentials away from the cell body? A, B, C, or D? If you learned something cool today, smash that like button and hit subscribe for more bite sized medical lessons. Drop your answers and questions in the comments. Until next time, stay curious.